Hello! So, before we get started, I've been told very explicitly to make it clear that any of the names that you see in the Legendary Army book here, whether that's names for the units, names for their special rules, names for the mounts, names for magic items, anything like that, it's all subject to change as Background haven't finished their little bit of work yet before the release is ready. So bear that in mind, but other than that, enjoy. Let's hit record. And let's try again, shall we? Hopefully it won't... That shouldn't cause any problems. Audacity should be very much lighter than running OBS as well.
Okay, cool.
Alright, so attempt number 2. Say hello, Hugh, again.
Hello, Hugh.
Perfect, very good. So we're having a look at the new Kingdom of Equitaine book. I've been rushing through old battle reports all week, and this is the reason. It's because we can start doing proper spoilers for the new Legendary Army book. So we're going to be looking at that today, tomorrow, every day for this week until the book is released, a section at a time. We've already done 10 minutes of recording before my PC crashed, so we're going to go through a little bit again, and hopefully it'll all be okay this time.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you've taken. Sorry, I've asked you these questions already, haven't I? But you've taken KOE to an ETC before.
Yeah, it was 2019 Zagreb, which I got wrong in the previous recording. So clearly it was for.
It was destined then.
Yeah, for no inaccuracies on the podcast.
Yeah, we can't have that, could we?
Yeah, it was the old explodey peg lord who went absolutely nuts and has maybe got a bit of a resurgence in this.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, that you may see from various spoilers. I think he's certainly very strong.
Yeah.
Could be a thing again. You could see similar lists from back in that era.
Yes, that would be entertaining. Whether or not it's a good thing, but I suppose we'll see. I suppose the points is yet to be adjusted, right?
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
That'll be a big thing. All right, so let's get reading through it again. So first thing to change is the blessing, obviously. Army-specific rules. Unit profiles in this army book contain an additional characteristic which corresponds to the unit's Aegis saves, shortened to Aegis, shortened to Age. Sorry. This characteristic is treated as if the unit has the personal protection Aegis X+, written on its profile, where X is the age characteristic value. Not having an age value does not prevent a unit from being the target of an Aegis modifier. A model from the Kingdom of Equitaine army book with courage, ordeal, or honesty that is fleeing can never use an Aegis save. Yeah, so obviously that doesn't make an awful lot of sense without the next bit, which I think was also spoiled in Kalexe's spoiler thread on the forums, but we'll go through it anyway. So you've got 3 flavours of the blessing now: courage for highborns and knights, honesty for Ordo and church units, and ordeal for peasants. So courage. The mortal gains a Aegis +1 max 4+ with the following restriction. The effect can only be used against wounds against which the model cannot take any armor saves. So that means toxic attacks, certain spells from alchemy, being hit in the face by a Feldrak Elder with a great weapon, that kind of thing. You now get a +1 to your Aegis saves through that.
Lethal strike as well. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You get +1 to your saves, which is nice. Units with more than half of their models with courage ignore friendly units consisting entirely of models with ordeal for the purposes of panic tests. So this is a nice way to bake in insignificant without restricting character movement, right? So
yeah,
you can now join your highborn lords and your peasant characters to whichever units that they want, regardless of what caste they're born into, I suppose.
They've done a good job of stopping the old restrictions from the old book in this one now, which is a big plus.
Yeah, exactly. So you couldn't have certain characters join Grails. You couldn't join quests unless you were a certain speed because you'd slow them down. You couldn't join aspirants because you'd stop their special rules. You couldn't join units with the Banner of the Last Charge because you'd stop impact hits. Couldn't join peasants because you weren't insignificant.
Yeah.
Peasant characters couldn't join knights because they were lowborn.
Yeah, everyone will be very happy to hear that that all that sort of problems is pretty much gone. I don't believe there's any restrictions that I've seen in terms of characters joining various units. So that's a thing of the past.
Yeah, only the Fey Spirit thing.
Yeah, but that's basically stopping characters joining very specific units you probably wouldn't want to join anyway. So
yeah, in fact, I think maybe only one unit that you could join potentially. Yes, so it's no more +1 strength against strength 5, +1 Aegis against strength 5 and above, which you reckoned is with a little bit of a nerf.
It's a little bit of a nerf, I think, because it's less generally applicable, but it's only a small nerf because you are getting a boost in your ward save against things that you are specifically very vulnerable against, in terms of the things that take away the thing that you're primarily paying for, which is the high armor save for your rank and file troops.
Yeah, and of course there's no more having to pray for and losing first turn now, so you can finally, as an Equitaine player, you can finally drop and take first turn if that's the thing that you want to do.
Yeah, I think people have got to be aware of that who aren't Equitaine as well, because that is a thing. Denying the board space and moving up incredibly quickly and being on them immediately is something you've definitely got to be prepared for now.
Yeah, it's a massive change, considering, Ninth Age is its own thing now, but obviously Equitaine hasn't changed an awful lot until now from the Bretonnia book that was released early 2000s. So yeah, you've suddenly a massive change for them, which is really, really exciting for anyone who's been playing that long.
Yep, absolutely.
Honesty, the model gains +1 Aegis against magical attacks, and Ordeal is +1 to a maximum of 5 and can never be improved beyond 5 if the following condition is met. Its unit is engaged in the same combat as at least one other friendly unit containing one or more models from Courage or Honesty. So specifically for the Ordeal one, you have to have a different unit. You can't put an Ordeal, you can't put an Honesty or a Courage character into the Ordeal and then get +1. It has to be a separate unit.
That would be very strong. Yes.
Yes, yeah, very easily done. Yeah. So makes peasants very, very useful.
At the caveat of losing the leadership that they got from the old Slayton book, yeah.
Yes, yeah, no more Oath of Fealty. But for the exchange of potentially making them as strong as, as resilient as some demon infantry, I think that's very much worth the change.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
And magical attacks on the Honesty is very interesting as well. I think that's nice for certain characters that can take it. And there are particular units in the book that we'll get to later on, which is a very funny addition.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely quite solid.
Very entertaining. Okay, cool. So next thing up is the Orisons, which also have been spoiled in on the forums. So this is very wordy again, so I'll read through it quickly. At the start of Step 7 of the pre-game sequence spell selection, each model with Orison X adds X Orison tokens to its owner's Orison token pool. Additional instances of Orison X on the same model do not stack unless they are written specifically as Orison plus X. Any player's Orison token pool can never contain more than 6 Orison tokens. At the start of any phase or round of combat, one or more Orison tokens can be removed from the Orison token pool. For each removed token, choose one friendly non-fleeing unit within 8 inches of a non-fleeing model with Orison X. The chosen unit gains one of the following effects: Holy Strike, Holy Shield, or Holy Wrath, and they do, respectively, model parts without harnessed gain +1 to hit with their close combat attacks, Aegis +1 to a max of 4+, and the model gains Fear. Any model that already has Fear gains Terror instead. Several instances of an effect on the same model are not cumulative, and a single unit can only be the target of one Orison per phase unless specifically stated otherwise. The effects last until the end of the phase. So a little bit like a magical orders system for EOS, really.
Yeah. We discussed on the previous recording how it is a little wordy, but I certainly think that it's something that's going to be relatively easy to get used to. I think they've done a good job of stopping fleeing or dead models interfering with the token system. They've
Yes, yeah. It's just you work it out at the beginning of the game, and that's kind of it. There's ways to get extra ones, but that's through a magic phase, so that's stoppable.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be fleeing and then gain a 5+ Aegis against anything that's shooting at them, which is nice, or magicking them. A lot of what's written there, it can be boiled down to you work it out at the beginning of the game, and you can't have more than one at one point. And the rest of it's very simple, and you have to be within 8 inches of an Orison unit as well, so you've got to take the support units to be able to cast these.
Yes. I think you cram in as much Orison as you can get, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's lots of different ways of creating new ones, but it's good to start off with a good base anyway, in case your opponent really wants to stop you getting any more.
It's certainly a very strong mechanic for KoE. The Holy Shield and Holy Strike particularly, very good upgrades to units. Bit of redundancy to rubber lance, and the potential to make your units even more tanky with the ward save as well, which is completely undispellable for your opponent, which is very, very strong.
Yeah. If you've got the tokens, then that's it. You can cast them. You can try and kill the Orison units so they can stop killing. So you can stop your KoE opponent's knights being in range of something that can give them an Orison. But as long as that's true and they've got a token, it's off.
The biggest issue for opponents, I think, is with this rule is going to be learning which units have Horizon and which ones don't. But I think that's the major source of complexity for playing against it. But I think it'll be adapted to reasonably quickly. I don't think, and I think it's central to the book, or the way the book works. It's built in, so I don't think we're going to see any change to it anytime soon.
Yes, yeah. So one of the guys on the lab team, Echo, has been doing homebrews for the past couple of years for Kingdom of Equitaine, and certainly in the later versions of that, before it got too similar to the Legendary Army book and the thread got pulled, this was a very, very similar to the thing that he was using on there. Yeah. So I think it was called The Faith Kingdom of Equitaine, and then suddenly one day it wasn't on there. It wasn't on the forum anymore. So I PM'd him and was like, "Yo, where did it go?" And he was like, "Yeah, look, well, I asked if it was a bit of a strike from the secret police from the 9th Age, and he essentially said, yeah, it got too similar to the one that we were playtesting." So yeah. So I think this is fun. I think Holy Wrath will be incredibly matchup dependent, but I think in the right place at the right time.
Yes.
If you get the opportunity, it'll be really, really good.
It may come up every now and again, but I think Holy Strike and Holy Shield are going to be a lot more used. Yeah.
Okay, so next up, so another big thing on the forums is that Grail Knights are not in the book anymore. You can't take a unit of Grail Knights. They to match with their background, Grail Knights were always supposed to be a lot more powerful than they were, as a unit. And they've been replaced with sainted characters. So this is an upgrade for your characters, obviously. It's one of a kind, cannot be taken by the battle standard bearer. Model parts without harnessed gain Orison +1 and Fearless. The model part gains +1 attack value, +1 offensive skill, +1 defensive skill. Its discipline is set to 9, and its special item allowance is increased by 50 points, up to a maximum of 200 points. In addition, the model is always under the effect of the Orison's Holy Strike, Holy Shield, and Holy Wrath. This does not prevent the model's unit from being a target of an Orison. I think this is really fun, and you can use it in different ways to create different kinds of units. So
there was a lot of potential shenanigans in from the Equitaine Lords or even the heroes. There's a lot of potential combos you can do here that are pretty interesting. That we've discussed at length that we might get to in the next video.
We'll get to that tomorrow's video. But yeah, I think this is interesting. I think the most fun bit about it is that obviously hippogriffs still cause fear. That's not a spoiler. That's been released on the forum as well. But a saint on a hippogriff causes fear and then is subject to Holy Wrath, so you can get your hippogriff to cause terror, which is fun.
Yeah.
It's just it's an extra thing for for the book. Again, it's a lot of armies have ways of getting around Fearless or getting around Terror and or have very good discipline, so aren't too worried about it. But in the right sort of situation, that's very good.
I think
+1 offensive and always +1 to hit. It's amazing.
Yes, yeah, it's a very strong upgrade. You certainly get a we'll get to the points later video, but it seems like a strong upgrade that will probably be taken fairly consistently, I would imagine.
Yeah, I should think so. But the important part of that is that it's one of a kind, so you can't spam this anyway. You can't take like multiple cowboys or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next up, we've got the Knight Banneret. I'm not sure. I haven't looked up how to pronounce this. Is that any idea?
Banneret or Banneret. I haven't looked it up either. I want to go with Banneret, but I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, I know. Oh well, I assume it's French. I would think. Either way, it's 0 to 2 per army, and the model gains the following rules. So +1 health point to a maximum of 3. The model can take a single banner enchantment from this army book, for which it is considered to have a special item allowance with no limit. When calculating combat score, the model adds +1 to its side's combat score, and the model can be chosen as the model that suffers penalties for refusing a duel. If it does so, it does not add +1 to its side's combat score. So it's Warriors of the Dark Gods Super Champions, but with banners.
Yes, essentially. The weird thing as well here with this guy is he gets +1 wound, but he can't be targeted. Or is the Banneret the upgrade to the champion? I forget.
Yes, yeah, that's the champion as well.
Yeah, so it's a champion standard combat upgrade. Yeah. Okay.
So it's so when I've been building my lists, I've been uncertain about putting banners on this guy because it's difficult to regrow him through magic, and his banner can be specifically targeted out. So if you pay for the enchantment on there, and it's there's only really expensive good ones, right? So you can pay for that banner enchantment, and if you're playing against something with evocation with snipes, you can very easily just shoot this guy out, and you've lost a whole load of points in the banner.
Yep. That's definitely true. I think he's the naked upgrade for the static combat res, as we'll get into Lance formation, is definitely something that could be valuable in the book. I think probably you'd want to potentially use if you're going for a traditionally sized lance, then I think you probably go for the cavalry banner, which we will get to later. Because that will tie in well with this and is the
very well.
less expensive upgrade for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of going it. And I like the fact that he can be chosen to for the model that's not taking a duel. I think that's very characterful for the army.
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah.
Next up is a very similar upgrade for, so spoilers, that's for courage units, the Knight Banneret. The Ordos Minister is for honesty units. It's also 0 to 2 per army. Again, the model gains +1 health point to a maximum of 3, and at the start of each friendly magic phase, the model's unit or a model inside the model's unit may raise 1 health point with the following restrictions. No single unit can recover or raise more than 1 health point per player turn from this ability. Champions cannot be raised by the Ordos Minister. And a unit that recovered or raised health points this way cannot be targeted by Fountain of Youth from Druidism in the same magic phase. So, yeah, this is pretty big. Free Druidism, essentially, for the army. You don't have to spend any dice, you don't have to spend any tokens, you don't have to cast anything, it's just...
Can't be spelled.
Yeah, you just bring a couple of guys back. So, in the right units, like if you have your characters in the right places, you can... it's free regenerating health for them, which is nice.
Very strong, very strong.
Yeah.
But obviously on a champion model that can be sniped out by enemy attacks, so it's strong, but it's not infallible.
Yes, yeah, it's not the end of the world, really. So, it's not completely uncounterable, which is cool. I hadn't noticed before that this guy can just refuse duels.
Yes, that's
He's got
true.
the benefit of Armoury.
He's honourable, but not.
But only to a point.
Yeah, only to a point. He's not courageous, and therefore has to accept the duel.
Yeah, he's honest, but and his honesty is, I'm not fighting you. I will die.
Yeah, my honesty is that I'm a priest and not a fighter.
Yes, I will not be engaging in a duel with you. Next up is Gallantry. So what did you think about this? Have you had a look about this? Cause
bit wordy. But I think at least skipping it to the end sentence is where the important bit is really all that needs to be said. 4,500 point army, total gallantry of 7. Essentially, this is your fly cap.
Yes, yeah. So without a gallantry percentage category, you can only take up to 7 of these units, and obviously X is a modifier, so if there's a unit with 2, that counts as 2 of your cap.
It's the parallel would be Fires of the Forge, I think, from ID, whatever that rule is called.
Yeah, Fires of Industry.
Fires of Industry, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So I think this is a new kind of general sort of rule that's being tested out. That might see wider application. I know that the Beast Herds forum, they were talking about something similar for their gigantic models. Because slight points changes to a couple of the monsters means that you can take more than is intended, but that means that some of the monsters that could do with points drops can't have their points drops because of the percentage cap. So this is a nice way of getting around that.
I think it's a generally an okay system. It's fairly straightforward. You don't have to worry about doing your maths to work it out. It should be fine. I think it's something we can adapt to reasonably easy. Yeah,
and it's again, like, everything is subject to change because this is an alpha book going into public alpha. So feedback's important, of course. Next up is very simple. If you know what Forest Spirit does for SE, then you know what Fey Spirit does. It's the model gains fearless and magical attacks. Models with Fey Spirit can only join or be joined by damsels or models with Fey Spirit.
Yep.
Nothing crazy there. That's applicable for when we get into characters and stuff. And then the rest of what we can talk about today. So Lance Formation. The model gains fighting extra rank, and its maximum number of supporting attacks is increased by 1. If more than half of a unit's models have Lance Formation and the unit is 3 or 4 models wide, it counts as being in line formation and only needs to be 3 wide in order to gain a full rank.
Yes.
So 2 supporting attacks now for Equitaine. If anything's got more than 1 attack, you can do 2 supporting attacks.
That is very nice. There are some units in the book that are taking advantage of that in various forms. There are, I think, at least 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. The big caveat here is that you are losing static combat res for your lances, so you get more hitting, but less static.
So the old Slim book was essentially fighting 3 ranks with a 4th rank on the charge, but they got combat res. This is no combat res, but you're always fighting in 4 ranks, and you get +1 to your supporting attacks, which is, it's different. And you still count as full ranks for breaking steadfast and everything and being steadfast. It's just that you don't get +1 for having ranks at all. Yeah,
it's slightly better for breaking units, but slightly worse for the grind, essentially.
Yeah, you're at risk of, if you can't keep up your damage, then you're not producing anything, then you're very easily going to be beaten in combat. But that makes peasants more useful for the book, which is nice.
Yes.
And ranked up infantry blocks. Yeah.
Okay.
Next up is the Bastard Sword, which is just a hand weapon, flat hand weapon, so it can still be enchanted as such. Attacks made with a Bastard Sword gain +1 strength, and in the first round of combat, Bastard Sword may instead be used as a spear if the wielder is infantry, or as a light lance if the wielder is not infantry. All rank and file models in the unit have to be used in the same way. So, most of this is very similar to the old one. It's just, instead of a great weapon, it's now
+1
hand weapon with +1 strength.
Yeah.
So
Big,
a lot of bite taken out of it.
really? Big nerf.
Yeah.
You are striking at agility, which is, I guess, a better thing in some situations. It's enchantable, which is I think not something you could do with the old one.
No, you could.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but it's a bit of a nerf. There are various items, etc., that can kind of make you sort of be able to use the great weapon in this same way that it used to be, and replace the bastard sword. But this is it seems like a big debuff that I don't think, like we've been talking about this, there's not really any character builds where you feel like you massively want to take this.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
I think they may have overhit it.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, it's just a bit tough to tell at the moment. There seems to be better options for characters. I'm not sure how it affects the units that can take it. I suppose that's something that we'll look at when we get to those units. But for now, it just seems a bit strange. But interesting. You know, I'm down with that being, because it was very complicated and a bit, you know, over the top, and you know, a great weapon that you can use with a shield and this and this and this and
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I personally, I'm not a huge fan of this at the moment, and I think price-wise, I'm also not a huge fan of it when we get to that eventually. But
yeah,
we will see. And we're in the alpha, right? I'm sure it'll, if it proves to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the right points, it's still good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
you know, it's not as if the book is lacking for high strength, high AP, but agility, seeing as your core units still have lances. So
yes, okay,
yeah, not massive. And then the final thing for today's video is the Hereditary spell, Breath of the Lady, a casting value of 7+. Range and type is caster, duration is instant, and the effect is add 2 Orison tokens to your Orison token pool, which I think is really cool. I'm very excited to finally have a reason to take the magical heirloom.
Yes. It's nice to have a Hereditary that will actually be pretty much an auto, I think. It'll be very, very useful. Interesting. I think it's difficult to get right up to 6 Orison tokens from the start of your army list design. You'd have to really tailor into it, and I'm not sure it would be efficient. So I think you're always going to be able to cast this spell even from turn 1, I would think. So very good Hereditary, good price point.
Yeah,
I think it's a nice change, because Druidism is a big pick for KoE, but you find in the first couple of turns there's not an awful lot to be casting. So this adds something that can be bolstering you for later on in the game. You cast this a couple of times in the first couple of turns, and then you've got a bigger token pool to draw from in the later in the game.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Cool. Well, that's everything for today. And as we've said, we're covering this all week, a section a day. So spread about it. Go and talk about it in the comments. Tell your friends, tell them to come and watch, and check out everybody else's content. I know lots of community engagement guys are working very hard all week to show you guys lots of stuff for the new Kingdom of Equitaine book. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow. Say bye, Hugh.
Bye, Hugh.
Excellent.